big goals for your life? When I was young, my goal was to play Major League Baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, obviously, I never reached that goal, but this month we're talking about goals and a guy in the Bible named Nehemiah who had a really big goal. Now, at the beginning of Nehemiah, we read that he had some visitors, and he asked how things were going in Jerusalem. And they told him, things aren't going well. They're in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down and the gates have been destroyed by fire. When he heard this, he wept. He mourned. Then he fasted and prayed for days. He prayed confessions for the way the people had sinned against God by not obeying him, asking God to remember his promises to his people. Nehemiah worked for the king, so he also asked for favor in the king's eyes, and so that the king would be kind to him. Now, chapter 2, verses 1 to 5, it says this: I was serving the king his wine. I had never before appeared sad in his presence. So the king asked me, "Why are you looking so sad? You don't look sick to me. You must be deeply troubled." Then I was terrified, but I replied, "Long live the king. How can I not be sad? For the city where my ancestors are buried is in ruins, and the gates have been destroyed by fire." The king asked, "Well, how can I help you?" With a prayer to the God of heaven, I replied, "If it pleases the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried." See, Jerusalem's troubles created in Nehemiah a goal that wouldn't just benefit himself, but would serve his people and his God too. His goal began with difficulty. He said it because he saw a problem that needed to be solved and believed he could help solve it. It mattered deeply to him. His goal also began with prayer. He knew his goal was so big he couldn't do it by himself. Before he made a single move, he asked God for wisdom, for guidance, and for help. Then he kept praying for months. And his goal began with God's help. Nehemiah was determined to attempt a series of impossible tasks. He knew his wisdom and experience weren't enough to guarantee success, so he asked God for help. See, the size of this goal forced Nehemiah to put all of his faith in a God who could do what Nehemiah couldn't. And I think we all want to make a difference in this world. But to do that, we need to set goals. And I know the question, what are my goals for my life, could be a scary question to ask. But instead of waiting around for inspiration, what if you, like Nehemiah, looked around for problems that needed to be solved and asked the question, how can I help? Whether those problems impact you or others or the whole world, big difficulties can inspire God-sized goals. The book of Nehemiah begins with destruction, loss, grief, and tears. But that's not where the story is going to end. You'll have to come back next week to see what happens next.